Good evening. My name's Jerome Flynn, and tonight I'll be reading you a sleep story called Sacred New Zealand. Between filming Game of Thrones and my own travels, I've had the honor of visiting some remarkable places around the world. Perhaps the most memorable was a trip to New Zealand's South Island, where the mountains quite literally meet the sea. From the breathtaking scenery to the sacred Maori legends, it's a story that I'm honored to share with you tonight. But before we begin, let's take a few moments to settle in and get comfortable. Cozy up under the covers and let your arms rest gently by your sides. Take in a few slow, relaxing breaths as you let go of any stress and tension from the day. Feel your body sink softly into the bed around you. And when you're ready, close your eyes. Now that you're all tucked in, let's start our story. In the farthest northern reaches of New Zealand, at the very edge of a grassy cape, surrounded by water on nearly every side, clinging to a final outcropping of rocky cliffs, stands an ancient, sacred tree. Next to the rugged shape of the rocks, the tree appears impossibly delicate. Its two thin trunks like slender arms, reaching up towards a canopy of ever more fragile branches and leaves. Its position on the rock face seems just as precarious, as though at any moment the buffeting winds might carry it away. Were this tree part of any other family or genus, its exposed location might place it at risk. But this is no ordinary tree. It is a pohutukawa, also known as a New Zealand Christmas tree, renowned for its bright red blossoms and for its ability to grow in unlikely, near vertical conditions. Even more remarkable, this particular pohutukawa tree is thought to be over 800 years old, a true emblem of endurance and strength. So is the verdant, windswept cape on which you are standing today, no ordinary cape. You are standing on Cape Reinga, one of the northernmost points of mainland New Zealand, a swift breeze carrying the scent of salt water your way. Before you, a simple paved trail leads to another of the Cape's landmarks, a historic lighthouse perched high above the sea, a beacon of light as symbolic as the wizened pohutukawa tree. You follow the gently sloping path, breathing in the wild air and feeling your heart grow calm and quiet in this open landscape before pausing to take in the full panorama. From the ridge of the coast's rippled hills, you watch two seas meet below the cape. The still expanse of the inky blue Pacific extends to your right, while the lighter, almost transparent Tasman Sea is to your left, its unsettled surface churned by foamy breakers. In the distance, thanks to the day's clear sunshine, you can even discern a few faint shapes on the horizon. A group of uninhabited islands called Three Kings Islands. This special meeting of the seas would be reason enough to visit Cape Reinga. But as it happens, the Cape is also the most significant place in New Zealand for the Maori, the country's indigenous people, who inhabited the island nation for centuries before the first European explorers and settlers arrived. The Maori refer to Cape Reinga as Te Rerenga Waiura, which means the departing place, or leaping off place of the spirits. They believe it is where a Maori's spirit goes after they pass away, and after their spirit has already travelled the length of the country to the Cape. Even the ancient pohutukawa tree, growing on that final outpost of cliff and rock plays a role in what happens next. If the spirit is good, it will slide down the tree's roots and into the ocean, where it continues underwater to Three Kings Islands. The islands mark the place where the Maori believe the spirit emerges from the sea and takes one last look back at New Zealand before returning to its eternal home. You close your eyes for a moment and picture such a profound and poetic journey. A journey that not only encompasses the entire country, but includes time and space for reflection. A moment of looking back over one's life and homeland. And yet, Cape Reinga is far from the only natural setting in New Zealand that holds deep significance for the Maori. From the very beginning, the land has been sacred for them, with Maori legends and myths recounting the origin of nearly every mountain, volcano, and lake. For the Maori, Lake Taupo is more than merely the largest freshwater lake in New Zealand, even in all of Australasia. It is the beating heart of the North Island. Just south of Lake Taupo, the Maori still refer to the Central Plateau area as Te Kahui Tupua, which means the sacred peaks. These mountains were believed to have been gods and warriors, especially the region's three active volcanoes, Ruapehu, Ngauruhoe, and Tongariro. So significant is this region of volcanic valleys and peaks to the Maori that in the late 19th century, local tribes, who are known as iwi, gifted the land to the Crown and Nation of New Zealand. Tongariro National Park became the country's first, and even more importantly, the world's first national park established through a gift from an indigenous people. For the Maori, the rich and varied landscape around them is more than a backdrop to their lives. It is a fundamental part of their story. Connections between their communities and their environment are still visceral and alive, like hallowed threads being woven in an ongoing, ever-evolving tapestry. New Zealand's sacred landscapes abound across the South Island as well, including the legendary fjord known as Milford Sound. Located in the southwest corner of the island, in the far north of Fiordland National Park, Milford Sound stretches inland from the Tasman Sea for nearly 10 miles. While it was only discovered by a Welsh captain 200 years ago, the Maori had been visiting the fjord for centuries, which they knew not as Milford Sound, but Piopiotahi, meaning a single thrush-like piopio bird. One Maori legend attributes the fjord's creation to the god Tuteraki Whanoa, who was given the great challenge of shaping the coast and carving out fjordland. He began in the south, deftly wielding his axe to the mountains as he chiseled away rock and sculpted protected harbors and waterways. He strengthened his skill the farther north he went, creating each of the 14 fjords that now comprise the national park, until he fashioned his final fjord in what would come to be known as his masterpiece, Milford Sound, whose sheer cliff faces can rise almost 4,000 feet. To experience the soul of Milford Sound, you slip into a small kayak and begin gliding through the stillest water you've ever seen. A light rain is falling, just enough to conjure a mesmerizing mist around you. Waterfalls of all lengths and sizes run down the cliffs, cascading through deep green foliage. You feel at once infinite and infinitesimal, Immersed in this display of nature in its most majestic and pure state, you follow the edge of a cove, pulling your paddle through the sound at a peaceful and measured rhythm, the still water beginning to softly sway beneath you. At times, you paddle right up to where the cliffs meet the water and pause in the shadow of a waterfall, letting the mist cool your face. At another wider stretch of the shore, you even have the chance to view the rare Fiordland-crested penguin, whose two signature yellow stripes above its eyes almost seem like large, bushy eyebrows. You keep going, passing more variegated layers of cliffs and gradually growing close to the mouth of the fjord. This connection between Milford Sound and the Tasman Sea is more than just a symbolic outfall, linking this sheltered arm of water with the wider world. It has an interesting physical effect on the fjord's water as well. Although the sea is naturally salt water, the high amount of rainfall in the region causes a layer of fresh water to rest on the surface of Milford Sound. Much of this layer originates from the many rivers and waterfalls channeling into the Sound, carrying with them water that has been coloured by organic matter from the forest floor. This fresh water is much darker than usual, the shade of tea even, and this change prevents much of the sunlight from reaching the salt water. The result, then, is that marine life, including black coral, which is typically found at much more profound depths, can find a more shallow home in Milford Sound. The Sound is also home to a natural beauty and wildlife that can be rivaled by few other settings across the country, perhaps only by a final sacred landscape on the South Island. The seaside town of Kayakura, where soaring, snow-capped mountains hug the coast and descend directly into the rolling ocean below. Their ridges and slopes even seem to loom over the very streets of Kayakura, giving the small town an unexpected sense of drama and grandeur. And according to Maori legend, drama did indeed take place here. Renowned Maori hero, Maui, once used the Kayakura Peninsula as his foothold in order to steady himself while fishing the North Island out of the sea. This story even gives the region its earliest name, Te Taumanu Autewaka a Maui, that is, the seat of Maui's canoe. Beneath these legendary mountains, which are considered to be an extension of the majestic Southern Alps, Kayakura's beaches are full not of sand, but white pebbles and shells, as well as colonies of sleepy seals lounging in the sun. But it isn't life on land that has drawn you to Kayakura. It is the astonishing array of life found below its surface. Over 50 species of marine mammals call the coast of Kayakura home, including the Hector's dolphin and the New Zealand sea lion, both of which are found nowhere else in the world. One beautifully mesmerizing quality of Kayakura is how the continental shelf drops off so close to land. The waters of Kayakura Canyon descend a mile deep, deeper even than the average depth of the Grand Canyon. And just like the melding of the Pacific Ocean and the Tasman Sea at Cape Reinga, there's a meeting of currents in Kayakura, where warm water from the north mixes with cold water streaming in from the south, coming together in a way that makes it incredibly nutrient-rich. And among the many creatures who find sustenance in Kayakura's nourishing waters among the dancing dolphins and languid seals and wheeling seabirds. There is, perhaps, none more magnificent than the colossal whales seen cruising the bay, like furtive giants hiding out below the surface. You have the chance to witness their magnificence for yourself on a relaxing, blue-skied afternoon, with only a few wispy clouds lingering over the horizon. You board a whale-watching tour, the vessel gradually carrying you away from the coast and into deeper territory. And like a moving, breathing iceberg, it's possible to see only about 10% of these remarkable creatures as they come to the surface. Even still, when the first whale you see that day finally makes an appearance, his spout of water a telltale sign of his presence in the bay, you lean as far as you can against the boat's railing, eager to take in every moment of this rare encounter. Every time he breaks the surface for a breath, he appears only as a low, dark mound of smooth skin before he dives below again, giving you the briefest window in which to glimpse his powerful tail. Once, in a striking display of symmetry, you realize the contour of the whale's back is the mirror image of the mountain ridges overlooking the ocean. This picture-perfect symmetry stays with you for long after you return to land and begin walking up one of the coastal mountains. Your steps even and slow, your legs brushing against feathery tussock grass. White and yellow flowers bloom along the path, while the heady fragrance of jasmine is unmistakable. A small, beautiful bird seems to be following along, possibly a fantail or grey warbler, guiding you to the top. As the air swells with her distinctive song, one that Sir Walter Laurie Buller once described as a soft trill of peculiar sweetness. When you reach the summit and survey the expanse of land, as the sun begins to set in the distance, you never could have imagined a greater reward for your journey. This awe-inspiring vista of mountains and sea, a land truly made for heroes. And as the warbler continues her song, you couldn't have asked for more delightful company, as though the universe has provided you with a companion right when you needed it the most. You begin to wonder if this is part of what the Maori's deep and intrinsic connection to the environment is all about. That even when you are on your own in the natural world, you are never, in fact, truly alone. All around you exists a world waiting for you to open to it, to reach out to it, to finally see what it has to show you with ready eyes, and to really listen to what it has to say to you with an open heart. The beauty of a warbler's call, the gust of a whale's exhale, and perhaps even the whisper of a passing spirit as it makes its way to the Poutukawa tree. Yet again, your journey through New Zealand has brought you to a precious meeting point. Just like the meeting of two seas at Cape Rainga, or the coming together of fresh and salt water in Milford Sound, so is there another convergence of currents in Kayakura, and another extraordinary landscape as the result of it. as you begin descending the winding mountain path, your steps keeping time with the rhythmic breaking of waves below you, as though they are hushing and ushering you into the deepest of sleeps. You think once more of the Maori, who have never drawn a distinction between our natural world and its deeper significance, the two worlds instead flowing together in a fitting, final union. For the Maori, every mountain has meaning. Every lake may have a heartbeat, and every twist and turn of the terrain tells another ancient and sacred story.